It's Capital Region Sports Saturday with Brady Farkas, sponsored by Mohawk Honda.
Albany, Siena tonight. The Albany Cup taking place at the Times Union Center, and it's going to come down to one word and one word only. And that one word is tempo. The Albany Cup will come down to tempo. Whichever team can control it will win this rivalry game. Albany is 7-3. Siena is 6-4. So this game, not only just a rivalry because it's in the area, but it's two good teams going at it, two teams that we could see on the mid-major national stage come March. It is Capital Region Sports Saturday, brought to you by Mohawk Honda, your number one volume dealer in the Capital Region. I'm your host, Brady Farkas. Again, tempo is the key. Pace is the key to tonight's Albany Cup game. If this game's played in the 80s, Siena's going to win it. If this game is played in the 80s, Siena's going to win it. If this game's played in the 50s or the 60s, Albany wins it. In the 70s, well, then it's anybody's best guess. But Siena's going to want to move the ball up and down the floor. It's something Jimmy Patsos has talked about all season long. And they want to get up. They're going to fly down the floor. They're averaging nearly 80 points a game. Nearly 80 points a game. They've scored 80 or more in 5 of the last 6 games have the Saints. They've got 5 players in double figures. So Siena is going to look to run. And Troy High School native Javion Ogunyemi, who stars for the Saints, he echoed that this week as well.
Oh, definitely. We think that's one of our advantages against a lot of teams we play. You know, we're very athletic at all the positions that we start and we bring on the floor. And, you know, that's just something that's one of our strategies.
He's saying that they want to turn the game into a track meet. They want to make it an up-tempo game. Sure, you might get some turnovers with that if you're the Saints, but you make it an up-tempo game, and that is going to be what Siena looks to do. And Javion Ogunyemi, the Troy High School product, he's going to join us at 9:45 to preview this game. Albany, they're a bit of a chameleon. They average 75 points a game, but it's really 73 when you take out the 90-point drubbing that they had of Division III Oneonta. So when you look at Division I opponents, they're averaging 73 points a game. But Will Brown and his staff, they know how to manage an up-tempo team. You saw Kentucky only score 78 on Albany. Albany's played games in the 50s this year against Quinnipiac. They will slow the game down to a halt at times against Siena, and that's what they're going to need to do to win. So this is going to be a battle of wills. Whichever team can control that tempo to the best of their ability is going to win tonight. And Albany's done that in the last few years. That's why they've won 3 consecutive Albany Cups. So the Albany Cup, Albany is going to need to take their chances in transition when they have it. But for the most part, they're going to look to bring the ball out. They're going to run through sets. They're going to look to get the ball into their big men and then kick it out to their slashers and their shooters on the outside. Siena's going to use Marquise Wright's athleticism. They're going to use the size of Brett Bisping. They're going to use the size of Javion Ogunyemi. We're going to see Levon Long, who's powerful down low but can also play outside. Siena's got 5 guys on the floor. Freshman Nico Clareth. These guys are going to score. They're going to look to score. If this game is played in the 80s, Siena wins it. This game's played in the 50s or 60s, Albany wins it. Again, the 70s is anybody's best guess. But it's going to be interesting between Jimmy Patsos, Siena head coach, and Will Brown, the Albany head coach, which team can take control of that tempo, which team can control momentum early, which team can control their emotions. And this game, it's huge for the area. It's fun for the area. And we're going to bring in Zach By right now, who's the Albany men's basketball broadcaster. And he's in studio today. So, Zach, we've only had this show now for about 3 months or so, but I think you're already skyrocketing to the top here of our most frequent guests. But we're happy to have you in studio for the first time.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Brady, for having me back. Always love popping on the show here for a little bit.
So, look, you, like me, are a Capital Region guy. You're a Section 2 guy, played at Scotia, played at St. Rose, and now you're on a different side of this rivalry here, being the Albany broadcaster. But from a general standpoint, where does this game rank to you here in the Capital Region sports scene?
In my personal opinion, Brady, I think it's number 1. And I know the Travers draws in more people in one day, and I think they get 30,000 or however many they get there. And this past year was even a different circumstance with American Pharoah. But as far as human beings go, this is 1A for me. And one of the 4 major sports. I'm not a big horse racing guy, so for me this is tops. And really, there's no second place to me. Nothing comes to mind immediately as something that would rival the intensity and the magnitude that we put every year on this game. I mean, there'll be 10,000 people there tonight.
So we've got professional sports in the area. You've got marquee minor league hockey. You've got some people will call it lower level minor league baseball, but when you look at the guys that have gone on from the Valley Cats to the majors, you're talking batting champions and Cy Young winners just in the last 2 years. So this dwarfs all that to you.
Yeah, to me, it does. And I love the Valley Cats. Go to games every year that they've existed. Love the Albany Devils. Been going to games since I was 7, every single year. This to me is just, it seems like it's on a different level. Those teams are great, but we don't know the guys and I don't think put the emphasis into the people, for the Valley Cats. We don't know those guys personally. We know by the end of a guy's 3 or 4 year stretch, we know a lot about Javion Ogunyemi, a Troy kid who we see play twice a week, who we hear talk twice a week. A Joe Cremo from Scotia. By this time, Peter Hooley and these guys, I feel like it's more of an intimate thing between these two teams and the average Capital Region, Joe. And I think for that reason, and just the history of the rivalry, we don't have a rivalry in those other sports that would garner the attention that this one does. So those things put together, I think, to me, why this Albany Cup is first and there is no second.
Is this truly a rivalry, or is it a rivalry that we've created here in the area because we want there to be a rivalry? Remember, look, we've only got 3 local players in this game on the men's side, and on the women's side, I think there's 0. So you've got Cremo and Greg Steyer on the Albany side. You've got Javion Ogunyemi on the Siena side. So look, Jimmy Patsos isn't from here originally. Will Brown's not from here originally. There's hardly any local presence. Is it just another game to the players? Is this rivalry? Does it really exist?
I think it does. I think it very much does. And you got to remember, like, from my perspective, forget Jimmy Patsos and Will Brown. Folks around the Capital Region, you're connected somehow to Albany or Siena. Your cousin went to Siena, or you went to UAlbany. Your dad is an Albany grad, or someone who went to Siena. I feel like everyone has some sort of connection to someone from Siena or someone from Albany. Everyone's got a finger in it somehow. And when you get 10,000 people out here to watch a game, it does turn into something for the kids. Like, and I saw a couple guys talked about it in the recruiting process. That was one of the selling points of the recruiting stage, is like, hey, and when you come here, every single year, you're going to play in front of a ton of people. There's a ton of attention around the game, and you just can't replicate it. I do think it's a rivalry. I do. And between the administrations at each schools, the coaches at each schools, the players, they know what goes into it. All of them want to kick each other's heads in. And I know everyone plays the patty cake political correctness in the week leading up to it, that, the ramifications, aren't season ending and they won't reverberate out if they lose a game, okay? But everyone knows that there's a lot more to this game than just the win or loss on your schedule. It's bragging rights. It's I would say it goes into the foothold at whichever school has on the Capital Region. I do think it's a rivalry game for sure.
The coaches get along with each other, Zach. The players seem to get along with each other. I heard on the Upstate Sports Edge the other day, Peter Hooley say that he was friends with Rob Poole and Evan Himes. So, there are guys that get along, and we know that Jimmy Patsos and Will Brown get along with each other. But did you see
get along and friends are different, though?
Did you see what Jimmy Patsos said earlier this week? If you haven't, I'm going to play it for you now. I'm going to ask you to react to it.
It's Yankees-Mets. It's Cubs-White Sox. The Mets, no one went to the games 3 years ago. Everybody always goes to Yankees games, but the Mets won, so people go. Will's done a great job of building that fan base by winning. Siena's done a lot for basketball, and Siena's is the big dog who took the big chance to go play downtown. Siena put Albany college basketball on the map, and then they've done a really good job of growing their program, and they deserve credit for that.
So is Jimmy Patsos basically saying that, hey, Albany's great, but they're only great because we gave them a chance to be great by playing them for the first time, 15 years ago?
Well, I didn't totally take that away from that quote, although I do think in their own little subliminal ways, these guys throw some shade at each other, like
Yankees, Mets, he said. Basically, everyone goes to the Yankees game. People only go to the Mets games when they're winning. So basically, if you're an Albany fan, you're a Johnny-come-lately. Is that what Jimmy Patsos is saying?
Yeah, well, to an extent. I do think that's partly
Does he
what
have
he's
a
saying.
point?
Yeah, I think so. But part of it is, I think that would make more sense if we added context to it that, the Mets are winning and they just became a Major League Baseball team, in the last 20 years. People didn't have a chance to root for Albany on this type of a level since, the year 2000, pretty much. So, when you and I were growing up in the Capital Region and we were young, you couldn't go see Albany against Kentucky or Syracuse or Maryland or Pitt, all teams that they've played, Duke, in the past 4 years. And now that they're on that level, I think you're finally letting, the Capital Region basketball fan have a second option to Siena. Siena is the big dog because they have the pedigree. They've been doing, they were upsetting Stanford in the NCAA tournament when Albany was playing Cortland and Oneonta. So you're going to have a heritage there that gets passed down from parents to kids and people's alma maters. They want to be proud of that. So when you share an experience like that, you can take it through the decades. Albany hasn't had any of those until, I was in college when they were playing in the NCAA tournament for the first time. So yeah, it is a catch-up scenario. Albany is trying to catch up to Siena because Siena had a 30-year head start. So I don't necessarily disagree with Jimmy Patzels at all. Siena is the Yankees in this area, and the Mets would be UAlbany here.
Despite the fact that UAlbany's won three in a row, it seems as if the Siena contingent and anyone who's involved in the Siena contingent would still have you believe there's a big brother, little brother complex here.
Oh, for sure. Oh, for sure. Yeah. And you would want to remind people, if you're on the Siena side, of the sample size of the success of Siena basketball and say, hey, no, zoom out a little bit. We're not just talking about 3 or 5 years or 10 years. Siena basketball has had a foothold here in the Capital Region for, 30 years plus. So I totally understand that side of it. But then there's the other side of it is, guess what? It's 2015 and the Mets are hot, per se, in air quotes. And that's what Albany's been in the NCAA tournament 5 times since 2006. They've dominated the series as of late, winning 4 of the last 5. Peter Hooley is going to go in his senior year today. He may never lose a game against Siena in his entire career. There is something to be said for that. Just like there's something to be said for the past success and the dominance of Siena and the overall it is a bigger program. It's a more high profile program, but there is something to be said for both sides of the argument.
It's Capital Region Sports Saturday, brought to you by Mohawk Honda, your #1 volume dealer in the Capital Region. Brady Farkas, Zach By sitting in with me. He's the UAlbany men's basketball broadcaster. He'll be here breaking down the Albany Cup with me all hour long here. Tip off tonight. The men's game, 7:30 at the Times Union Center. Women's game beforehand at 5. High school hoops from last night. The marquee game on the boys' side. Shen tops Guilderland 64-49. Kevin Herter 22 points. And I was at that game. And he's going to Maryland, folks. And if you think that's overreaching, you're wrong, because he had the ability to, he unbelievable passer, great court vision, was able to pull up in transition, hit 4 threes, threw down 2 dunks. He did it all last night, and Shen gets the win in their biggest test to date. They remain undefeated, and they haven't lost. They didn't lose all last year, so this win streak here is almost at 30 games going back to 2 seasons. So, look, Zach, I know the key to the Albany Cup is tempo and pace of play. You're going to tell me I'm wrong, and you're going to do that next.
It's Capital Region Sports Saturday with Brady Farkas, sponsored by Mohawk Honda.
Albany Cup tonight. UAlbany traveling to the Times Union Center, take on Siena. That game, 7:30. UAlbany has won 3 consecutive Albany Cups. Brady Farkas with you. Zach By, UAlbany men's broadcaster, and our most frequent guests here on Capital Region Sports Saturday, sitting in with us. All right, Zach, we were talking about it off air. I'm going to give you your chance to go with it. I know for a fact, I've told you already, the key to this game tonight is going to be which team can control tempo. But you've got other ideas, so what is your key to the game tonight?
My key to the game for Albany's perspective is to keep Greg Steyer and Mike Rowley on the basketball court. The lack of depth in the front court right now for Albany.
Backtrack for a second. UAlbany's probably going to be without Richard Peters and Travis Charles. So UAlbany has a rotating quartet of big men. They're probably going to be without 2 of them. Continue.
Yeah, no, and I was just about to explain that these 2 guys in a reserve role in Charles and Peters, who you just referred to, have been so big for Albany this year. Richard Peters has scored in 9 of 10 games, that as a reserve playing 14 minutes a night is huge. And if you look at Peters last year, he was wildly inconsistent. So
pretty much just started the games last year for the tip-off, played the first 4 minutes, and then was out until the same sit in the second half.
Yeah, probably averaged the least amount of minutes of anyone in the country who starts games. He played about 15 minutes a game last year in a starting role, which is highly uncommon. But he has been great. He's looked in shape. He's looked very active, and he's been an actual difference maker off the bench, along with Travis Charles. Travis Charles is a guy that can go get you 15 points like he did at Boston. He's done it a handful of times where he's went and shot 7 of 10 or 6 for 7. You go, oh my goodness, this kid just put up 14, 15 points. And to have that coming off your bench is you can't replace it. And you have these guys in Rowley and Steyer who have been playing tremendous this season. Both of them have really exceeded expectation. The big question mark was, how are they going to replace how is Albany going to replace Sam Rowley, the potential player of the year, leading vote getter on first team in the conference last season? And they've answered those questions, but you have to have some depth there. Javion Ogunyemi and Brett Bisping, those are great front court players. And on face value, you'd probably say, okay, Siena has the advantage in that category.
Couldn't I play devil's advocate and say, look, Siena's got 2 big men. They run 2 deep, and Bisping and Ogunyemi the same way that Albany will be limited to just Steyer and Rowley today. Doesn't the foul trouble argument go the same way? If Albany's able to get Siena in foul trouble, doesn't that help the Danes in the same way that you're saying Albany needs to be wary of it on their own end?
Yeah, to an extent. I just think that Bisping and Ogunyemi bring much more to the table offensively than Steyer and Rowley, so they're actually guarding scoring front court players, as opposed to those other guys where Steyer and Rowley will get points, but it's going to be off dump downs, it's going to be off putbacks. It's just a different type of matchup for those guys. But I tell you, if Steyer or Rowley gets in foul trouble, which both of them have been at points this season, you're going to have to play a 3-man, a swing man at the 4-man spot. Now, whether that's Dallas Enema or possibly even Joe Cremo for Scotia, I think you're at a disadvantage because you do not have the size and rebounding that you're going to lose with having Steyer and Rowley, who are both coming off career highs in rebounding. Steyer, 14 boards against Marist. Mike Rowley, 11 boards. They've both been doing a great job there. Without one of them, even at half strength and moving a slasher up to the 4 spot, I think that there's a reason to be concerned if you're Albany.
We'll see what Will Brown is able to do to keep his big men on the floor. And again, Zach, I agree. It's going to be a conversation point for you all day long, but I still think the key to the game is pace. It's Capital Region Sports Saturday, brought to you by Mohawk Honda, your #1 volume dealer in the Capital Region. The Mets at the winter meetings, extremely active. You thought baseball season was over, folks. It's almost 60 degrees, and it's December. So winter meetings go on this week in Nashville. They go from last Sunday to Thursday. And the Mets, they make a couple of big moves for them. They go out and they trade for Neil Walker, but then they sign Asdrubal Cabrera. And if you're not familiar with Asdrubal Cabrera, he's a shortstop. He played with Cleveland for a while, played with Washington for half a season, and then spent last year in Tampa. He offers good offensive upside, but is he really better than Wilmer Flores? Well, the Mets obviously think he is because they just replaced Wilmer Flores at that shortstop position, essentially. Cabrera, 2 years, $19 million. He's keeping that job. Jim Duquette was on MLB.com, and he had this to say. He thinks this deal is great for the Mets.
Cabrera, if you look at it in the books at $8.25 per year, he's got a $2 million buyout and a third-year option. But if you look at him overall, he's a solid defender. He'll get and catch what he gets to. Similar to Flores, but I think he has a little bit better range as well. They're still a little bit below average, but offensively, the switch hitter, the ability to drive the ball into the gap over the fence. He's another 15 to 20 home run guy, just like Neil Walker, who they acquired earlier. I really like this deal, and I think the two of them up the middle are going to be an upgrade over what they had last year.
So Walker upgraded over Ruben Tejada. And let me set the record straight here. I like Asdrubal Cabrera. I like him a lot, as a matter of fact. I hate this deal for the Mets. I hate this deal for the Mets. You heard Duquette say, well, he's a good defender. Well, with what he can get to. So he's already said now then he backtracked and said he's below average. So you've got now a below average defender. Cabrera's 30 years old. And you talk about this great offensive potential that Cabrera brings to your lineup. Well, Cabrera, 30 years old, hit .265 last year with 15 homers and 58 RBIs. .265, 15 homers, 58 RBIs. Wilmer Flores, 24 years old, hit .263 with 16 homers and 59 RBIs. You're giving $19 million to the same player who's 6 years older. And the message that it sends to Flores is that he's not good enough. Well, he just helped you get to the World Series. He became a fan favorite. He helps you get to the World Series, had big moments throughout the NLDS against the Dodgers. 24 years old. He's got room to grow to get to be better than Cabrera is. They're on the equal footing right now. If Flores is able to play another full season, he's going to continue to trend upward, whereas Cabrera is going to continue to trend downward. I do not understand this move from the Mets one bit. The Mets are a team that all we hear about is how thrifty they are and how they don't want to go out and make the big money signing. Now, $19 million for Asdrubal Cabrera, it's not huge money, but you're telling me that $19 million isn't better spent on going to make a realistic play for Jason Hayward, who's a 26-year-old outfielder who you could get for 7-8 years? Oh, no. You signed Asdrubal Cabrera, and you watch Jason Hayward now go to the Cubs, the team that you swept in the NLCS. It's now going to be coming out for you. The Mets signed Asdrubal Cabrera, and there's just no need for it. There's just no need for it. Wilmer Flores was good enough to get you to the World Series. He's the exact same player as Cabrera. He's cheaper, and he's 6 years younger. And Zach, I'm going to go to you on this only because you've been in athletics. You've played sports. You've seen it from the coaching standpoint. Now you've seen it from the analytical broadcasting side. Wilmer Flores is a guy who's the same player as Asdrubal Cabrera. He's 6 years younger, and he got you to the World Series. Just what kind of message does that send to you? If you're Wilmer Flores, what message does that send to you?
Well, geez, I certainly wouldn't feel the loyalty. That's for sure. If you help propel a team, then you're gonna have to have a seat for a guy that's sort of you would think his better days are behind him. And I'm all about catching guys on the upswing, when their trajectory is going up, not when they've already reached their max price and that stock is going to go down.
24 years old for Flores. He's going to grow to get better. I mean, look, it's essentially like you've got a freshman who played well. He's going into his sophomore year. And you're expecting him to continue to trend upward. That ceiling can continue to grow. Whereas Cabrera, he's that senior who's been injured for 3 years, who you don't really know what you're going to get, who, if everything goes well, he's good, but things can go down quickly. I don't understand the move from the Mets perspective. It is Capital Region Sports Saturday, brought to you by Mohawk Honda, your number one volume dealer in the Capital Region. Brady Farkas and Zach By now sitting in with me as well. And Zach, this rivalry game tonight, Albany Cup, it doesn't only extend to the men's side. On the women's side, we've got a battle going on. Albany's won 5 straight in this series. But I think Siena has as good a chance as they've had in recent years to make some noise in this. Allie Jacks has her team playing very well. They're tough. They're motivated. And they've also got, as we all love in sports, they have the always favorite underdog card in their pocket. Allie Jacks earlier this week.
On paper, I don't know how much credit we get going into this game, and that's fine.
The underdog card is a powerful tool. Can Siena use it to their advantage to upset Albany?
I think you can use it for as much as it's worth. Eventually, you're going to have to motivate your horses, but your horses still have to get out there and run. And, in the 30th and 35th minute of a game, that card, that chip on your shoulder, that's already run its course. I mean, the talent is eventually going to show itself. I think if the matchup is super even and there's a grudge there and there's vendettas, then maybe it can play into it a little bit. I just think there's a real discrepancy of talent between Siena and Albany. That's why Albany has really dominated on the women's side the way that they have. I mean, some of these scores in the past couple of years haven't even been close. Games over by halftime because of the tremendous players at Albany. I mean, Albany has a player that could play in the WNBA. I mean, he's the best player in the history of not only Albany basketball, which is conclusive, but the entire America East, the history of the conference. Sharisha Richards might be the most dominant player ever. Now,
you've got Teresa Richards and Amani Tate, who lead Albany in scoring. They also lead the America East in scoring in 1-2. I think they're one of only 3 schools in the country that can say that they have 2 players that lead the entire conference in scoring. But the thing for Siena is they only allow 58 points a game. Yeah. They've got a good, stout defense, and that defense, as well as anybody, that your ability to play defense will always go with you. So Siena's going to have a chance tonight.
I think they're going to have a chance. Well, like I said, over 40 minutes, the level of athleticism, which in the women's game sometimes is not as prevalent. You can see it with the UAlbany women's basketball team between Amani Tate and Sharisha Richards, and the host of others that they have. I mean, they have real athletes. And I think, like I said, once you bang for 20, 30 minutes, that will reveal itself. The cream is going to rise. I think Albany is going to win again here because just the talent level, it can't be made up with coaching. I don't think it could even be made up with schematics. Albany's just a better team, I believe, and I think you're going to see that again in the result.
It's Capital Region Sports Saturday brought to you by Mohawk Honda. So UAlbany has been number one on the women's side in this rivalry for the last 5 years. They look to make it 6 as Siena looks to break the drought, and they want to be number one, much like Mohawk Honda, who strives for perfection every day by providing the most impeccable customer service, because that is the key to any success. At Mohawk Honda, they try to do things right all the time for their entire family of customers. Yes, they have over 1,000 new and pre-owned vehicles available to select from. Yes, they're open extended hours in all of their departments to better service you. And yes, you can shop over 10 acres of savings opportunities or go online 24/7 at MohawkHonda.com. And yes, of course, they'll provide you the lowest, no-hassle prices to better suit your budget. So shop their convenient Route 50 in Glenville location to join the number one automotive family at Mohawk Honda, where they always go out of their way to please you. When you watch the Albany Cup tonight, eyes will be on local product Joe Cremo, being the local guy on a local team. More pressure or more fun? He answers next.
It's Capital Region Sports Saturday with Brady Farkas, sponsored by Mohawk Honda.
Yes, we are back and on the phone with Joe Cremo, UAlbany freshman basketball player, Scotia High School graduate. You know the resume by now. Helped lead the Tartans to 2 straight New York State championships. Just an unbelievable high school career. Well, Joe, 16 points for you the other night against Marist. You guys have won 5 straight now at Albany heading into tonight's Albany Cup. Things are starting to click, huh?
Yeah, I feel like we're really starting to come together. We're all starting to, play our game, find our role. And, guys are just, happy out there. And everybody's starting to play well together. So it's a good thing to see. It's a long season, so hopefully we can keep it going. But, we feel good right now. So just trying to keep that mood going.
16 points for you against Marist, and your offensive game has really started to take off here as we've moved through these first 10 games. What are you seeing on the offensive end, and has Coach Brown told you to start looking for your shot more often?
Coach wants me to be aggressive. The guys want me to be aggressive, and, they all have a lot of confidence in me, so it's really nice to have. I know my role on the team, and I'm just trying to get guys shots on offense, and I'm trying to, do what I can to help us to win. So whether that be on the defensive end or on the offensive end, I'm going to try and compete as hard as I can for as long as I'm in there to help us give us the best chance to win.
UAlbany freshman basketball player and Section 2 product Joe Cremo with us. Capital Region Sports Saturday brought to you by Mohawk Honda, your number one volume dealer in the Capital Region. And Joe, what was the biggest transition for you going from high school to college ball?
I think, just the transition itself. I knew I wasn't going to be playing the same minutes, so being able to come off the bench and, being able just to come on and be efficient and produce right away. I think at the beginning I was a little more nervous and trying to play, without making a mistake. But now I'm just going out there trying to play comfortable and just play my game. Those guys are really starting to take care of me out there on the court. They talk to me, make sure I'm comfortable and confident out there. So playing with those guys, it's a great feeling out there. Like I said, that's probably the biggest thing for me, just going from that transition. Other than that, I feel like my game is going to transition pretty well to this game.
UAlbany Siena tonight, the Albany Cup, 7:30 p.m. Times Union Center. And Joe, what are your emotions going into your first Albany Cup game? This rivalry, is this a game that you grew up going to in the area?
Yeah, I went to it a bunch, especially the last few years, ever since I got into high school. But, even when I was younger. But now I'm just really excited to get over there. It's going to be, we're going to have a really big crowd. And, we're excited. We're excited to get over there and, play back. We know it's their home, their home court. So it's going to be a big game for them. It's a big game for us. We're just going to try and, go in there, do what we can, try and get a win.
Joe Cremo, UAlbany freshman, Scotia High School graduate with us, Capital Region Sports Saturday, brought to you by Mohawk Honda. And Joe, in addition to yourself, you've got Greg Steyer from CBA, another local product on your roster. What's it like for you guys to be local players on the local team? Is that more pressure? Is it more fun? What's that dynamic like?
I think you get both. pressure and fun. But at the same time, I've talked to Coach a bunch of times, and I don't really feel as much pressure. I've told him before, I put more pressure on myself than anyone. So when I hear all these expectations and stuff, I only listen to, what the coach's expectations are and what my teammates' expectations are for me. Outside of that, just got to try and focus on winning. But, it's a lot of fun, too, being a local guy. You're going to have a big support, fan base there for you. So it's always nice to have that, just trying to go out there and, have fun, because at the end of the day, you're trying to have fun and you're trying to win, so.
Over the last 2 months since the season started, Joe, we've had on everybody from Coach Brown to Zach By, who's the broadcaster over at Albany. He's in our studio today, and we've had on Steve D'Agostino. And the first thing that everyone says about you and they praise is your work ethic. Where did that work ethic come from, and has it always been that way?
It started when I was younger, and my brother always told me, because I told him when I was 5, 6 years old, I really wanted to play basketball at, the higher levels, and he always believed in me. He told me that if I work hard, he always saw like a little something special in me. So he believes in me from the start. So I give a lot of credit to my brother. I got to give a lot of credit to my high school coaches, and especially Coach DePera. But that work ethic, I think it's evolved over time. And now if I'm not on the court every day, I kind of feel like I'm doing my team a disservice. So every day I'm just trying to go out there and get better. Make sure at the end of the day I know I'm making myself better as a player and, giving us the best chance to, win a game.
Anything else we've heard about you? People always say that you're, that you're a great hometown guy. You still following Scotia here as we've just started high school hoop season?
Yeah, I saw that they won their first 2 games. I'm still trying to keep in contact with a couple of the guys. It's good to see that, they're still doing well. I'm rooting for them big time. I know they got a lot of pressure on them, but I tell them it's a long season, so you just got to keep playing. It's nice. It's a little different, not being there playing at Scotia anymore, but at the same time, I'm excited to see what those guys can do over there.
When we talk about Section 2, we talk about all the talent that is there right now, all the talent that's been there in the last 2 years, from yourself and Greg Steyer. Now we've got Kevin Herter, a senior at Shen, going to Maryland. We've got Hamir Wright at Albany Academy. And when I played, it was Jimmer Fredette. And so what's your thoughts just on all the talent that's around Section 2?
Yeah, especially, over the years, people have started to see it. When I was younger, I got to watch Jimmer and those guys play. And I think that just gave me a love for the game. And you talk about Zach, who comes on here and talks to you, when I was younger, he was my role model when he played at Scotia. And just always looked up to him. He was a great role model for me. And those guys really made me want to play the game. But, the talent from around here, it's picked up, and it's starting to come along. Over the years, it's been great. So, great place to grow up. Just trying to continue what I've been doing, and trying to do it to the best of my ability.
Joe Cremo, you Albany basketball player with us, Capital Region Sports Saturday, brought to you by Mohawk Honda, your #1 volume dealer in the Capital Region. Joe, your first Albany Cup tonight. Great Danes taking on Siena, 7:30 at the Times Union Center. Best of luck, Joe. You guys are going for 6 straight. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Joe. And Zach, we'll give you a chance to react to that. He called you his role model growing up. You played at Scotia as well. For those who didn't know, Brady Farkas, Zach By, you Albany men's broadcaster, sitting in with me today for the full hour. And, what do you think of that?
It's pretty humbling, to be honest. That's something that he's told me privately, but to have him say it so publicly like that, that's why Joe's the greatest. That's why everyone in our hometown of Scotia is such a big fan of Joe, because he's constantly taking whatever comes in. He's had so much adulation poured on him in the past 3 years, and he just continues to throw it back. And he's the ultimate give credit guy. You hear him just in that interview with you, saying guys by name and saying, he's shouting out his youth coaches and hey, Glenn Stapira and, Jimite and oh, don't forget about Zach By. I shouldn't even have been in that conversation of talking about, the highest level of talent. I was never that guy. A good player, but never a great player. But to have Joe, feel like he wants to say that about me is what makes Joe Joe. And that's what I I care about the kid on a personal level. Try not to have it bleed through on our broadcast too much, but that's why he's the best. I mean, I've known Joe since he was 6 years old. He was our ball boy at Scotia, yanking on our shorts and getting us water. And I would give him some old gear and stuff of mine, and that kind of stuck with him and kind of stayed in touch with him through the years. And it's incredible for me to see him doing what he's doing and handling it the way he has. I mean, the kid's 19. He's still a teenager. Got to remember that. And the way he's handled all of his success and the humble manner that he's gone about it is a big credit to him, but his family and just his overall disposition is great.
Joe Cremo could be a difference maker in tonight's Albany Cup game. His ability to score, his ability to get to the hoop, his ability to distribute, play defense. He's going to be on the floor a lot, especially as Albany may have to go smaller at times without Richard Peters and Travis Charles expected not to play. So it's Capital Region Sports Saturday, brought to you by Mohawk Honda. Brady Farkas, Zach By sitting in with me. From one guy who's already pretty good and getting really good in Joe Cremo to a guy we already know about, and that's Jimmer Fredette. Jimmer had 19 points for the Westchester Knicks the other night as he continues, his ascent in the D League. He's averaging 25.8 points a game. And Zach, I'm going to play these highlights for you. This is how it's supposed to be if you're a fan of Jimmer.
Jimmer will run without numbers. Pull up three. It's good. And Fredette pushes. High floater. Rattles in. Jimmer off the screen. Swish. Fredette. Pull up three. Got it.
Nice steal, Jimmer.
Keeps it alive. Into the open floor for the layup.
That's how it's supposed to be. And look, I'll take the blinders off that. I feel like I'm the president of the Jimmer fan club. Okay. I think he's a nice guy. I've interviewed him on a professional level. I played against him. Followed his career much as everyone in the Capital Region did. We're all rooting for Jimmer, I feel like. 25.8 points a game right now in the D League. Zach, is he an NBA player? Why hasn't someone called on him yet? Are you as pro Jimmer as I am, or is it just me in the studio right now?
No. Of course, we're all pulling for Jimmer, and we just got done talking about Joe, and we talking about Jimmer Fredette and the way he handled his success. My God, I'm even more of a macro scale, being National Player of the Year, leading the country in scoring, going in the lottery. I believe that coaches over time are starting to view him as a novelty almost. That
just a guy who just
there's so much hype
like
around
a Tebow
him.
Guy?
Yeah. I think close to that level. Tebow's had more opportunities on the grand stage than Jimmer has, but I believe that coaches over time are starting to view him as you are going to get a whole bunch of hoopla, not as much substance to balance out that hoopla, and they're a little bit reluctant. I mean, Jimmer has a skill set that it's not a dime a dozen thing. I mean, he is a knockdown shooter, but you see defensively is the real reason that is holding him back. Like if Jimmer was a lockdown defender, it'd be a shoo-in, but he's always got the ball in his hands. He is not a pass first point guard. And he's not an efficient defender. So, you add those factors with all the extra stuff that comes with him, I think it has coaches just a little reluctant to go all in. And that's the thing about Jimmer. If you're going to coach Jimmer and you want him to be successful, you got to go all in with him. You can't say, Jimmer, give me the best 10% of what you got. Jimmer is Jimmer. So you have to kind of take the handcuffs off him, give him a long leash and say, Jimmer, you have to go be Jimmer for us, not, James Fredette. Go be Jimmer. And no coach we've seen here at the NBA level has allowed him to do that.
Bottom line for me is, as much as it pains me to say, is that because I've always been on the camp that, hey, they're not playing a whole lot of defense in the NBA anyway, so what does it really matter if he's, quote, a defensive liability? But his plus-minus the other night in the D-League was minus 13, so the team was minus 13 when he was on the floor. And we talk about him being a knockdown shooter. He had 19 points, but he was 4 for 14. That efficiency is not, you can't be, if you're a volume shooter in the D-League, that's not going to translate to the NBA. So it's Capital Region Sports Saturday, brought to you by Mohawk Honda, your number one volume dealer in the Capital Region. And at Mohawk Honda, they always go out of their way to please you. But did you know they have over 180 trained automotive experts going above and beyond to make sure all of your needs are met? A business can have all the great things.
It's Armin and Levac weekdays 3 to 7 on your home for New York sports 104.5 The Team.
The guy left here laughing. I couldn't believe it. You sold him that Passat Turbo Diesel for that number. The guy says, I love this deal. It's the best deal I ever had in my whole life. Just because there was a little controversy on a thing. This is the prettiest, nicest car, and I get all this gas mileage, and your son sold me this car for a 14. It had a power moonroof. It had leather. It had turbo diesel. It was a 13, and you sold it to the guy for 14 and a half.
Yeah.
It was a $26,000 car.
Talk about mind being blown. That's what we're willing to do here over at Fusillo Volkswagen. Folks, go to FusilloVW.com and look at our pre-owned diesels. Okay, you want just a crazy, obscene deal? Go to FusilloVW.com. That's our entire used vehicle pre-owned center. It's all of our inventory, FusilloVW.com. You want the lowest price? You want a 111-point inspection done on your vehicle?
That's huge, Capital District, huge.
49,160 miles. Prior sales excluded. See dealer for complete details. Pricing available from December 1st, 2015 through December 31st, 2015.
Hi, this is George Zari, and I'm one of the personal injury attorneys here at DeGraff, Foy & Kunz, a law firm that's been fighting for its clients in the Capital District for over 100 years. To obtain the most for an accident victim, the insurance company has to know you're actually willing to go the distance. That's why at our firm, we tell them up front, settle the case or we'll sue it, pay the client or we'll see you at trial. That's our reputation. Here's a real example. We were contacted by an elderly couple who'd sustained life-altering injuries in an accident when a driver crashed head-on into their vehicle. After the insurance company forced us to sue the case, they continued to deprive our clients of the money they deserved right up through trial. So we presented the facts, argued the law, and an Albany County jury awarded our clients the $1 million verdict justice required, one of the largest in the last decade. If you've been injured in an accident and it was the other guy's fault, you have a legal right to be compensated. We'll tell the insurance company, settle or we'll sue it. Pay or we'll see you at trial. And they know when we say it, we mean it. Want to fight back? Call us at 694-3800 or visit us online at dfklawyers.com. That's dfklawyers.com.
Geico presents Kathy, the Candid Realtor.
Okay, and right around here is the kitchen. Gas range, granite countertops, all those gadgets you registered for will look great up here until that toaster overheats and takes out everything in a 2-foot radius.
It's hard to know all that comes with renting a home or apartment. That's why the Geico Insurance Agency makes getting covered for personal property loss and damage quick and easy. Visit geico.com and see how affordable renter's insurance can be.
It's Capital Region Sports Saturday with Brady Farkas, sponsored by Mohawk Honda.
Albany Cup tonight, UAlbany and Siena. Game at the Times Union Center, 7:30. Big local flavor in the game. Joe Cremo, Greg Steyer on the UAlbany side, and this guy who joins us now, Javion Ogunyemi, on the Siena side, the Troy High School product. Javion, first and foremost, UAlbany's won 3 straight. How do you guys over at Siena turn the tides tonight?
I think most importantly we have to stay together. It's a big game for all of us, because not just because it's a rivalry game, but just because it's our next game. And we got a lot of young guys who play some good minutes for us. But the most important thing for us is just stay together and execute.
UAlbany's got some front court concerns going into this game. They may be without Travis Charles and Richard Peters. Does them not having their usual depth in the front court make it easier for you?
I really haven't seen them play too much this year, but I know for us, we're trying to go inside regardless. So if they're 2 men down, then it's an advantage for us.
Siena Saints junior basketball player Javion Ogunyemi with us, Capital Region Sports Saturday, brought to you by Mohawk Honda, your #1 volume dealer in the Capital Region. And Javion, we just talked to Joe Cremo, the Scotia graduate who plays for UAlbany. There's also Greg Steyer from CBA on UAlbany. You're on Siena. You guys are the local guys in this game. Does it have added meaning being a local guy playing in this game?
It's very important because you hear about the game growing up, and then I think when you first step in it for the first time, it's just an overwhelming experience kind of thing. But for me, this is my 3rd year, so the pressure's not really on me. I just want to try to come out here and win.
Did you go to this game a lot growing up?
No, I only went once my senior year when I was already signed to come to Siena. Unfortunately, they lost, but hopefully that's not the outcome.
Javion, you guys are really moving the ball up the floor so far early on this season. You've scored 80 points or more in 5 of the last 6 games. You've got 5 players in double figures. Are you guys going to try to turn this into a track meet tonight?
Definitely. We think that's one of our advantages against a lot of teams we play. We're very athletic at all the positions that we start and we bring on the floor, and that's just something that's one of our strategies.
We've talked about the local presence in this game, and I asked Joe Cremo this a couple of minutes ago, and I want your take on it. Section 2 has really just turned into a haven for basketball. I mean, I was out at Shen last night and watched Kevin Herter play, the senior who's committed to Maryland. What do you think of all the talent in Section 2 right now?
Yeah, it's definitely increasing, Kevin Herter going to Maryland, like you said, but, we also have his brother coming in to play with us next year. And then, down the line, Hamir right at Albany, I think he's one of the top-ranked players in the country now. So, it's great for the area.
Javion Ogunyemi, Siena basketball player with us, Capital Region Sports Saturday, helping getting you ready for the Albany Cup tonight, 7:30 at the Times Union Center. It is UAlbany against Siena. The Danes have won the last 3. And Javion, you transferred out after last season. You enrolled at Boston University. You took some summer classes, did not start the school year there, did not play any games there, obviously. You get back to Siena. The NCAA allows you to come back and get that eligibility back when you decide to transfer back. What was it like, though, for you throughout that whole process, waiting for the decision to come?
I just try to take it day by day. I realized it was a choice I made, and if I had to sit out, then, I was just preparing myself to be able to sit out. But, once I heard the great news that I could play this year from the Siena compliance, I was very excited. My teammates were happy for me, and the coaches were happy for me as well.
And I read an interesting part of this story that the coach at Boston University actually wrote a letter on your behalf. What was that? That seems something. I don't know if everyone would do that.
Yeah, Coach Jones is a great guy. He understood some of the stuff I was going through when I was out there. And most importantly, he just wanted what was best for me. And if I thought what was best for me was coming back here and playing at Siena, then he would go for it. He was a little disappointed because, he was losing out on a player that can help his program right away. But in the end, he just wanted me to be happy.
Javion, you're going to have 10,000-plus people at the Times Union Center tonight. How excited are you to play in an environment like that?
Very excited. At this level, you don't really get crowds like that. So, just to have other people out showing support for either school is just a great feeling.
Javion Ogunyemi, Troy High School product, Siena basketball player, getting ready for the Albany Cup tonight. Javion, best of luck. Have fun out there. We'll talk to you again soon, and happy holidays.
All right, thank you. Same to you.
Absolutely, Javion. And Brady Farkas, Capital Region Sports Saturday with you. Zach Bayou, Albany men's basketball broadcaster, local product as well. Scotia High School, St. Rose with me in studio, taking you up to 10 o'clock, getting you ready now for the Albany Cup. And Zach, we're going to play a little rapid fire here, and we'll culminate this rapid fire with our predictions for the game tonight. This game being played 10 games into the season for both teams. They've experimented with it here in the middle of the season. They've experimented with it at the beginning of the season. When is this game better? When it's the first game of the year for both teams, or where it is right now?
You know what? I just love the fact that they're playing the game still, because for a while there last year, it didn't look like it was on the fritz. To be honest, I liked it. I know this goes against the grain, but at the beginning of the year, there's so much excitement for the start of college basketball season in the first place. And then there's so much excitement surrounding this game. When you make it first, it's kind of like in NASCAR. They have the Daytona 500 to start the NASCAR season. That's what I think it was when it started the college basketball season. And I feel like the anticipation for it, as far as in the years that I've been doing the game, was never higher when it was the first game of the year. So I'll say first game of the year.
I do understand, though, why they moved it. When it's earlier in the year, when it's early in November, you're running up still with high school football, things like that, the NFL, there's a lot of competition, and the teams just aren't playing at their best yet. So I understand why they moved it, but, I agree with you. I do like it at the beginning of the year as well. Question number 2. This game is going to come down to coaching, I think. Who's got the better coach on the sideline, Will Brown or Jimmy Patsos?
Well, first of all, they're both really good coaches, and I'm going to say Will Brown because the fact that the more controlled the atmosphere is, the better Will is. Will is I've called him this, and it just is what it is. I think he's a control freak. He wants to manipulate as much apart. Now, he wants his guys to go out and make plays, but if he can have his fingers in 9 out of 10 plays, his fingers will be in 9 out of 10 plays. And schematically, at the mid-major level, there are few coaches that have the X's and O's down like Will Brown does. And that's been a large part. Listen, Albany has been to the NCAA tournament for 3 consecutive years. In those years that they've been, they were picked 3rd and 4th in the league. Each of those years, coaching has been a large part of their success here, and the championships are the tiebreaker to me in a situation like that. So I'll go with the guy who's been to 5 NCAA tournaments since 2006.
Better moment in program history, We'll play 2 clips here, one from each side. First on the UAlbany side, Peter Hooley last year against Stony Brook, America East title, courtesy of ESPN.
Sanders drive for the tie, no good. Rebound comes out to Hooley for the win. 1.6 left. Albany by 1. Purifoy is stripped, and Albany is going to the NCAA tournament for the 3rd consecutive year.
So that was Peter Hooley's shot last year against Stony Brook. And then also on the Siena side, Ronald Moore against Ohio State.
9.1. Got to get Hasbrook heads to the right corner. The jumper from Moore. Yes! Wow! Ronald Moore saves Siena in the first overtime. Let them play. Ubilis, 7 seconds to go. 3-pointer. Double order.
Ronald Moore against Siena in the 8-9 matchup at the NCAA tournament a handful of years ago. Siena beats Ohio State. We've got Bill Raftery, onions, double order. Which one's better?
That was such a good call. Oh, man, those Siena teams were great, weren't they, with the Ubilis and Moore? Oh, my goodness, those teams were so good. I'm gonna say Peter Hooley's shot because I was there, and you're asking me personally. I was in that moment. It felt like a moment that transcended sports. He had lost his mother, was absent for 16 games, comes back, gets himself in a position to win the game with 1 second left on national TV and a court storming. Give me that moment.
Better moment, I'm going with Peter Hooley. Better call, I'm going with Raftery. Onions, double order. So now we've got a minute left, a little less than a minute. Zach, your prediction for tonight?
Man, this is going to be a great game. 2 teams that are both playing well. I think Siena's won, I believe, 4 of 5. Albany is streaking as well. Both teams have winning records going into the game for the first time in the Division I era. I'm going to say 73-71 Albany.
I'm on record as saying I think UAlbany is the better team. I think UAlbany will go further within the America East, and Siena will go with the MAC. But I think Siena's going to break the streak tonight. I think Siena's going to get up and down the court. I think they're going to turn it into a track meet. I've got Siena 78-71. Brady Farkas with you, Capital Region Sports Saturday. Thanks to Zach Bye for sitting in. Armin Levac back on Monday. UAlbany, Siena tonight.